Hello, my beautiful listeners. Welcome to the holiday version of Midlife Strategies for Badass Women. I don't have a guest today. It's just me. I just wanted to chat and let you know kind of where I'm at in this holiday season as we get ready to wrap up the end of the year. I feel like this has been an interesting year for a number of reasons. For me personally, I learned a lot. I did a lot of experimentation. I also felt like I was maybe trying to force some things to happen, having expectations, wanting certain outcomes. It didn't always happen. I had to stop and think for a minute what I tell my clients and how I share things like this with other people. I had to say, okay, you need to just chill out, to be honest with you, and not try and push and force and expect or wish and hope and whatever, and just be your little projector self. And for those of you who aren't familiar with human design, there are different types of people. I happen to be a projector. There's generators, there's manifesting generators. I'll put a link in the show notes to a conversation that I had with Mel McSherry. She is a brilliant specialist in the human design world, and you can hear what she shared with me. It's fascinating. As a projector, the harder you push or the harder you try and force something, the less that happens. So as a projector, you just have to be ready. When someone asks for your help or your guidance, then and only then will you be able to offer it and move forward. So it's really interesting to change the way I've been operating my whole life. I did know that there were certain things that didn't quite sit well with me, like direct sales jobs where there was cold calling and beating the client up until they say yes. That just did not sit well with my nervous system and the way I operate. And now I know why. So anyway, that was a little bit of a weird diversion. But for some reason, I've just been thinking about how I've been going through life in this past year. There's also been a lot of other crazy things going on in the world. You can either get caught up in those things or you can be the best person that you can be for yourself and for those around you. And that's what I've been trying to do as well. So when I relaxed and became a little bit more introspective about some of the things that I had done this year and tried and been semi-successful at, but maybe not as successful as I had hoped, I just let things go. I decided to just let everything go and trust that the right things will happen and that I already have exactly what I need. And when I did that, I could feel things starting to shift. Then I was presented with probably one of the most amazing opportunities that I've ever experienced in my lifetime. When that happened, it just seemed so natural. All of the pieces fit. The opportunity is amazing. The people that I'll be working with are beyond incredible. And I had just let go and let be and let things transpire as they were meant to transpire. It's incredible. It really is something. You know, you can have all the vision boards in the world, but if you aren't willing to let things in and let go of other things, it's not going to happen. Okay, let's get back to the holiday, shall we? Today I was out just doing some normal things, which is really difficult to do at this time of year. And I could just sense, I mean, it's just a couple days before Christmas, and I could sense the energy, the tension, the stress in the air because it was a lot. And I could see that people were just running around and doing things because they felt like they needed to do those and getting the gift for someone that they barely know and trying to make everything perfect and trying really hard. And that's kind of why I started the conversation with how I had been overthinking, overdoing, and over-expecting, and over trying to push things into spaces that they didn't necessarily need to be in at the beginning of the show, because that's kind of how I feel a lot of people attack the holidays. And when I say attack, it's like, it can be really stressful. There's also the stress of being with your family if you're not that close with them. I want to just tell you to just take a beat, please. Take a deep breath, or 10, and think about what happens if you don't get that silly little gift for a coworker. I stopped giving gifts for the holidays quite a few years ago, and it was very freeing because there was not that stress to go out and shop and spend and do all this stuff, because that's not what really matters. And when I think back to when I was a kid, we would go out to dinner usually on Christmas Eve, and we'd go to this steak restaurant. And, I was young, and that was when children should be seen and not heard. So I would sit politely, and whatever my little holiday outfit was, probably a dress at that time. That was a long time ago. We would go out to dinner. We would usually take my grandmother. Then after dinner, we would drive around the ritzy neighborhoods and look at all the lights. Well, my grandmother would sit up front, and I was usually in the back seat with my mom. My dad would drive, and we had a Buick Electra. For those of you who don't remember, they were big American cars, and my mother had to have a new one every year. Not that we could afford that, but that was her jam, right? So I would sit in the back, and my grandmother had this coat that I was absolutely in love with as a young kid. It was a red camel hair, kind of 3/4 length winter coat with a black sort of mink collar. I was obsessed with this coat. So as we were driving around, I'm sitting in the back seat, of course, no seatbelt on because it was the 60s. And I am stroking the collar of her coat like the entire time because I was so obsessed with it. So there was the coat. And then there was the lights. And I, to this day, love seeing how people decorate for the holidays. I tend to like the twinkly lights, but everybody's got their own thing, and everybody does whatever they feel like, whether it's a yard full of inflatables, or it's just a bazillion little twinkle lights, or it's something very tasteful, just, a solid string of lights across the front of their house or whatever. It's just cool. It's just fun to see that. And the downtown main streets have little twinkle lights, and it just looks festive, and there's something really warm and sweet about it. For me, that takes the whole commercialism and stressful piece out of it. Also, just spending time with people that I care about and that I enjoy being around, and having a meal, whether it's, meeting someone for a coffee and a meal, or whether it's going to someone's house without the whole stress of expectations. If you have to be with your family, try and remember that everybody is doing their best. Whatever that is, it may not be something that you agree with, but everybody's just doing their best, and they're probably just as stressed out as you are. So if you need to go out into the garage and scream or talk to yourself or do something else, then do so. And then come back in and join the group and look at things with fresh eyes and listen with fresh ears. What are people really saying? What matters to them? And what matters to you? That's important as well. The other fun thing that I remember about Christmas when I was a kid and the holidays, I was telling somebody else a story the other day. My grandmother, once again, used to make popcorn balls, and that was so fun for me. She would pop popcorn in this little popcorn maker that she had that looked like a spaceship. I wish I still had that thing. It was so cool. And then she'd make batch after batch after batch of popcorn and throw it into this enameled, like a lobster pot, basically. It was blue with little white specks on it. I mean, it was true enamel lobster pot kind of deal. And filled it up with popcorn. And then she would make this molasses mixture, I'm sure there was a ton of sugar in it, no lie. And then she would pour it over the popcorn and stir it all together. And then I got to slather my hands with butter. Yeah, we're talking real butter. Slathered my hands with the butter so that the molasses wouldn't stick to them. And then I got to shape the popcorn balls with her. It was so fun. And then we put them all in a big pile. And then we would wrap them in different colored cellophane and, well, first in wax paper and then in different colored cellophane. It was just so fun. That was just like one of those cool things. And then she would let me decorate her tree. And she had all these, well, I say vintage because now they would be vintage, but at the time they weren't vintage. But that was back in the day when you had these big, huge bulbs on your tree and they were hot as anything. She had some ornaments that would, if they were over the lights, would like bubble there because they were supposed to do that. It wasn't like they were melting or anything. That was just so fun for me to do those types of things. So I do have some fond memories of Christmas, but it's things like that that were the little warm, fun, cozy things that I enjoy. And it just makes me feel warm. It makes me feel happy. I think that if we put all of the crazy aside from the holidays, what we have left is just love and light. If we can embrace that, we can ease into the new year and close out the old year with, like I said, love and light. And that's what I wish for each and every one of you. I want to thank you for listening throughout the year. I've had some amazing guests. I really appreciate your comments and your reviews. And I just want to say thank you. So thank you. Wherever you are this holiday season, please know that you're in my heart. This has been my Christmas greeting to you and to your families. And I'm saying thank you and happy holidays from Midlife Strategies for Badass Women.